Okay, fast forward to the end of the video if you just want to see the fix. A lot of it is the whole procedure that I did with it on the car and everything, as far as popping out of reverse on a t56. But if you do watch it all the way through, don't start grinding your fork until you're done watching the video, because the first one was my experimental one and I did it wrong. Then I show you how to do it right towards the end. So make sure you watch the entire video front to end, or at least fast forward if you just want to see the fix to the end of the video, and you can see what I had done. Thank you. Please subscribe. The vehicle I'm working on today is a 2006 GTO. Not my car. Looks like a fun little toy, though. I actually rebuilt the t56 on here, and unfortunately it's got the problem I've heard of with the popping out of reverse, which apparently seems pretty common with the t56s. Now this particular car has a viperized t56, so it's got the Viper output, or Viper output shaft. First thing you're going to want to do is pull the shifter. In this particular setup, man, I had to pull the dry shaft and then drop the cross member to get to the back shifter bolts back there with an Allen wrench. It was horrible. So for this, God, this is at an angle. What you want to do is drive this pin down with this punch. As soon as you can drive that pin down with the punch, this whole thing slides off with ease. Notice the plastic cup is missing. I took it out so I don't break it. So let's drive that down. I'll put the phone down for a second. If this doesn't come down, I'm going to need to do some creative stuff. Anyway, so what I'll do, as soon as I get that driven down, I'll report back onto the car with more video. It's able to drive that pin down, just by pushing up on this. You might be doing this in a Camaro F body too. And then also you can slide it back into gear. So once you get that little pin driven out, which is on the bottom, you can see there, this thing just slides right out. Okay, that's just a shifter indent. So I want to make sure that this is in neutral, because I pushed it forward on accident. So there it is. You can tell when it's in neutral too. When the shaft moves like that, that means you're in neutral. Okay, so now I've got that off. What I could do is crawl underneath the car, pull the tail shaft off next, then I'm going to check the engagement of the slider in reverse. Okay, you're going to want to drain it first. Okay, I've already done so, but drain plug right there, drain pan. Okay, I just separated it off camera because I needed both hands. In this particular case, I took a pry bar against the shifter opening and the transmission. You have to get creative. It's got RTV holding it on, and that's it. So it's going to have a lot of pressure. So it might take quite a bit to get it off. Now, I've already cracked it loose. What I'm worried, though, is I'm not going to be able to get it past my exhaust, which I may have to unbolt. I was really hoping not to. Okay. Once you get that detent pin out, it just comes off. So, indeed, my exhaust is a problem. So, but let's take a look inside. That's reverse right there. So, it's not engaging all the way. Let's see what happens when I pull at it. I can't get it. I'll have to do it off camera. So what I'm going to do here is I need to get it in reverse. I might go up there in the car and stick my punch pin through that top rail right there, twist it, and jack it up into reverse. I suspect that it's not getting full engagement of those teeth, that it's not going all the way. So that's what I'll see. Unfortunately, I gotta pull this fucking exhaust. Okay, got the exhaust and everything down. Unfortunately, let's see if I get a better shot. This car has a safety loop, and tail shaft is not dropping, so my transmission has to come completely down. That's life, huh? I confirmed the problem is a manufacturer defect, or whatever, characteristic. You know, if you whatever you want to call it. Okay, here's the reverse gear. Now, if you look, this is as far as the slider goes. It does not go all the way back to the gear. So we are only partially engaged. And I saw that bronze synchro in there. It was quite worn. So it's popping out of gear. So just that's as far as it shifts. So the way you fix this, I read online, is this gear only has so much, or I'm sorry, this fork only has so much room to come back before it contacts that gear. So, well, it doesn't really contact the gear. Rather, what it does is right here where it's got the stop. Okay, so you have to grind the entire flat side, the entire back side of the fork down, obviously right here. So what happens is the fork will physically sit further back towards, I think that's fifth gear. But if you don't grind the whole fork all the way down the length of it, then it's going to contact the gear. So what I got to do is grind enough clearance here so that it won't hit. But my measurement here has got to be a little bit more critical, because that is a little clip washer, a horseshoe washer there. It's kind of hard to see it, but anyway, this comes off, and in order to get this off, if you're working on a car where you can pull the tail, basically take this off. I suggest putting a bearing separator behind it and tapping backwards on the bearing separator. You can also use a 2-job puller. That's your speedo gear. Once that's off, there's a couple more clips here. Okay, and then that'll come off, and then you pull this little clip here, and this whole fork, well, first you're going to pull the reverse off, and this whole fork with the slider will slide right off. Then you can put this on your bench and start grinding. So what I was reading on the internet was hokey, or my understanding of it was wrong. You do not want to do this to the fork, because that takes up play in the opposite direction. And that's not what you want to do. So luckily I have spare parts at my cost. And basically, whatever, here's what I did. I put a big ass washer under here. Okay, and check this out. The clips all sit and everything. Now look at that. Beautiful. Goes all the way up. Full engagement. All I gotta do now is grind the top of this down so I can put the clip on. And we're done. Of course, put that back on. I'm going to put this all back together now for good. Well, I got to grind the top of that fork. But 118 thousandths is what this shim measured out to be. Now, this is just a coincidence that I grabbed a perfect one. So I'm sure, give or take a few tenths or hundredths, you know, whatever you grab will work. So the good news is I can put the washer on there, and all my clips and everything still go on. So I don't know what Tremec was thinking when they put this transmission together. However, certainly could have used a spacer from the factory and a modded fork. So we are on the home stretch here. Harbor Freight grinder, and I'm taking down, just by eyeballing it, about the same gap that I saw visually. So I've got that ground down to about where I want it. Now I just got to do this part, and I got to make sure it's nice and even, so I got to take my time with that part. All right, I'm back. I've got the top half disassembled down. If you want to see how to do that, I've got another video on my page for t56 builds, you know, but it's self-explanatory. You just basically pop off the clips with, you know, snap ring pliers I got at McFadden-Dale's, clip, and then that just pulled right off. Sometimes you have to press it off. You get it with a 2-jaw puller, or you can get it sometimes with a, you know, Harbor Freight bearing separator on the bottom and then tap it up. Like I said, there was just a series of clips and a bearing, and then this just slides right up. So I'm just gonna, it's not that I'm concerned with, it's this. So what I got to do here, I'm going to grind down this whole area right here where it contacts that plate to get it to engage the rest of the way. It looks about 1/8 of an inch or so is what I'm going to need. Then I'll have to grind this down so that it won't hit the bottom of the gear, right? So it doesn't smack that. So I actually think I just have to grind down just one fork. So I'll just have to grind down just that right there. This one isn't critical. There's nothing there that it would hit. All right, so this is going to be more of the critical grind. I got to figure out how we can do this nice and even, because then I have to take a washer of the exact same thickness and put it on the top side. And being that this is my first time doing this, this should be very interesting. Here's a fantastic viewpoint of what's going on now that I got the transmission off. Okay, here is, it's in reverse. You can see down there, that is as far as that goes without hitting bottom. Now, if you look here, and there it is again, at that slider, it does not go all the way up. It's only partially engaged into that gear. So, I got to make this clutch sit lower by grinding the bottom off, and then spacing the top underneath that horseshoe clip to keep it firmly down. I'm done. I just kept grinding, and there we go. Kept grinding that down, just on that, little bit at a time, until that ridge showed up underneath there where that snaps into, and it's done. So put a new synchro on, a different reverse too. Okay. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That goes all the way up in there. Fantastic. All right. Well, that would appear to be it. Looks like I'm doing this on every T56 I build. Back in neutral. Ready to go together again. Well, I mean, I've got to put the speedo gear and that bearing on down here. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe.